Okay, I think I'm centered. I'm settling into a new place, and it's been a while since I've given a vitrectomy update, and I have quite a few updates since my last video. Um, just to recap briefly, my journey down the vitrectomy route started in September of 2022 with my left eye having PVD, posterior vitreal detachment, at the age of 46. So PVD started, and then I had a retinal detachment. I had a vitrectomy where they placed an air bubble in my eye, and I had the 1 week face down recovery, and went through that. My left eye is back to 2020. Left eye, by all medical diagnosis, is a success. So about a month later, in December, I needed a vitrectomy in my right eye. So almost a month after recovering from this, I had to go through the same thing, PVD on the right eye. And I was very disappointed at the time because I thought I had gotten through this and I could move on with my life. It really disrupted my life because I'm a very active person, and this first eye, the left eye, in September took me out of working out, work. I'm very, very busy. I have a very busy life. I have a 9-year-old son. So to have to go through that again in December was a scary prospect. But I said to myself at the time, I did it once, I could do it again. And I think my last video, I was recovering from this vitrectomy that they did in early December 2022 in my right eye. Since then, I haven't been able to do videos because I've had a series of complications. And I thought that it was important to, talk about these things, get them out there, because I don't want everybody to think like, it's just like a walk in the park, because there are complications that happen and everyone's diagnosis and situation is unique. So I had the vitrectomy in the right eye, similar to the left eye. They put an air bubble in there, which takes a few weeks to kind of dissipate, and your body will just fill the eye back with the regular liquid that fills up our eyes. So I went through the week. The only difference this time was that because of where the detachment happened, I didn't have to be face down. I could be on my side as well, which made a huge difference in terms of comfort for that week. So I thought, hey, I got lucky. I dodged a bullet here, and I could get through this. So I went through the 1 week, and after that first week, I was told, okay, you can start to move around a little more. Started to move around a little more, and into that second week post vitrectomy on the right eye, I realized that something was not right. When you get a retinal detachment, it's not always like the curtain that they say of black that either comes down or comes up. Sometimes it's just like a weird looming kind of presence, and that's what I started feeling in my right eye. I've learned that with the retina, you don't want to mess around. I called my retinal specialist right away and said, hey, I don't think something's not right. I want somebody to come take a look. So I went in, they took a look, and they said, it's a good thing that you are so aware of these things in your eye and you didn't let this go, because there was fluid building up underneath the retina, which would have led to another detachment. So because I went in early, they said, we gotta go in there like right now and do another vitrectomy, which I was extremely disappointed in hearing, because this whole time, every time you go through one of these procedures, all you're thinking of is like, how long am I out of the game? And then this was another delay. So I went in for my second vitrectomy in my right eye. This was my third procedure at this point. And when I was in pre-surgical prep talking to the surgeon, they said, I asked what the recovery was going to be like. Are they going to use air again? And they said they have to really wait and see what they see when they go in. So I went into surgery, and I talked a little bit about what the surgical process is like for a vitrectomy, but you're like half out of it. you're not really like there. And so they're talking to you throughout the procedure, but you're not really like retaining anything or hearing like with your full senses. You're kind of out of it. So I woke up from that third process and I was told that when they went in, they were concerned because it was a redetachment. They opted to put in silicone oil instead of air this time, which I know from my research means a longer recovery, because typically the oil will stay in your eye for months, whereas the air really is only in there pressing on the retina, so it heals for about a week until it starts to be about halfway. So what they did was they said, out of an abundance of caution, because I was a redetachment, they wanted to be careful, and they chose to put oil in there, which stays like over 90% full in your eye for the entire duration that they keep it in there for. So that whole time, the point of putting a air bubble or oil in your eye is to keep pressure on the retina so that's pressed against the back of the eye and it can heal. So they said, since I redetached, this right eye might have just needed more time with that pressure on there to heal fully, and they didn't want to mess around. So I, heard that, was very, very frustrated, because here I am again watching the goalpost get moved further and further away. And for me, I wanted to get back to normal. And this started in September. It's interfered with my personal life. It's interfered with my job. It's interfered with my extracurricular activities. It's interfered with my parenting. Just your whole life gets thrown into turmoil when you're recovering from something like this. And this is the first time in my life that I've had a medical situation that really took me out of the game the way this does. So the only good thing with the oil versus the air is that I didn't have to maintain head position. So this third procedure, I went home with the oil in, very depressed, thinking, God, it's going to be 3 months. And when you have oil or air in your eye, it's like you're looking through like a fish tank almost, or like if you're holding up a glass of water to your eye, it's blurry. It's like you open your eyes underwater almost. So I was able to see like movement and shadows and color, but it's basically like your eye is totally unusable for reading, for like, life, driving, anything. It's just like, it's like I was functioning with only my left eye for that whole time. So I prepared myself mentally for 3 months of pretty much being, blind in one eye, and got back to work, life, was able to be semi-active. The other upside to having silicone is that pretty quickly I was cleared to be a little more physical, so I was able to start working out. I was able to start lifting weights again, which I rely on for my mental sanity, is my 4:30 a.m. workouts. So I was able to kind of get back to a little bit more of a normal life, even though my right eye was pretty much unusable. So fast forward now, it's mid-February 2023 right now. About 2 weeks ago, I went in for one of my follow-up checkups, and the surgeon looked in my eye and checked the retina and said, okay, everything looks good. Let's get this oil out of your eye. Let's do it early. So instead of going the full 3 months with the oil in, I only had to go 2 months. So right around the 2-month mark, which was last Wednesday, I had my 4th eye surgery so that was my 3rd procedure in my right eye to remove the oil, which the process is very, very similar to the 3 prior procedures, where you're anesthetized, you go in, they basically pull out the oil, and then they flush your eyes several times on the inside with saline, because the oil sometimes is like residue in there, and what they want to do is make sure they get as much out as they can so that you don't have like oil bubbles floating around in your eye for the rest of your life. So here I am now. It's Monday. Monday following that last Wednesday's surgical procedure. So I'm back in recovery mode, and I figured I have a break here this morning, and I'm feeling okay enough to just give a quick update because I didn't want to put the one video out and say like, you know, my status and then just kind of never put a video up again, because I know a lot of these vitrectomy videos on YouTube, people post a couple videos and then they're gone because everybody's busy, they get on with their life. So I'm still like very much in the thick of recovery. I'm in a lot of pain. I have to put a steroid and an antibiotic in my eye 4 times a day. So they titrate that. So the first week, 4 times a day, then the next week, 3 times a day, then 2 times a day, then 1 until you're done. And the thing with the steroid drops, if you're not aware, if you're going through this, is that they typically raise the pressure in your eye, which after putting them in 4 times a day for a couple of days, last night was really rough. I had a lot of pressure in my eye. It's just painful. I'm not sleeping well. I'm in pain and I'm recovering. But what I wanted to do, which I thought would be interesting for people that might be going through this, is explain the differences of what I'm going through now versus the prior 3, because it is a little different. The other 3 procedures, when they remove the vitreous gel, which is what a vitrectomy is, they put in the air bubble or a silicone bubble to hold the retina in place while it heals. This time, this procedure was being done in the absence of a retinal detachment. So they didn't need to put something in my eye, which was really cool. They were able to pull the oil out and put saline in there. So right away, the next day when I got the patch off, I was immediately able to see 1,000,000 times better than with the oil in there. It's still blurry, and I still have a lot of debris floating around, which is a little concerning. But this is the first time right after surgery that I was able to see without seeing through something like an air bubble or silicone. So I went in for my next day appointment. They checked it out and they said the retina looks great. Go home, rest for a week, no working out, which I'm not gonna do. And I'm gonna recover for this first week, and then coming up this week, I'll have my 1-week follow-up in which I can ask them why there's so much floating around in there. And I don't know if it's residue from the oil or if it's residue from surgery that maybe I didn't see on the prior 3 because I had something in there. So I know when they go in, there's bleeding in there, there's stuff floating around in your eye that your body naturally will filter out over the course of a couple of weeks. So I'm not getting too worried about it. I know it takes several weeks for your vision to really sharpen. So I'm not worried about the blurriness. I am a little concerned about so much stuff floating around. I have a lot of floaters. It almost looks like pepper in your eye, which is one of the symptoms of having PVD is when you start getting all these like floaters. It's just like all stuff floating around in your eye. It's debris. So I'm a little concerned that there's oil still in there. And if there is, and it's distracting enough, they could do another procedure down the road to flush you out again, which I'm hoping I don't have to do. I'm really hoping that this is my last ever surgery. But I will keep this YouTube channel updated as I go. And I'll do another video after my 1-week follow-up from this procedure and just give an update about all these floaters and just an update on what you can expect. So I think from the other YouTube videos I've watched when I was worried going into this procedure, I think I have now enough surgical procedures to give some advice that might be helpful for people. Even though my case is a little more complex, hopefully for the vast majority of people that are getting a vitrectomy, it's a one and done. You go in, air bubble, out, healed, and you're on your way. For me, I wish it was that way in my right eye. My right eye seems to be a little more complicated. But that said, the vision is there. I don't have any loss of vision anywhere. My retina is totally attached. I don't have any field of view limitations. And another thing I just wanted to mention, which I'll get into on the next one, my second opinion retinal surgeon that I went to in Manhattan referred me to a genetic testing company called Invite or something. I'll put the link in the description. But what they do, because they were initially a little concerned that this type of PVD started so young at 46, and usually this is like a older thing, like 60s. They, just to be safe, ran me through a genetic panel where they test all these different biomarkers for genetic anomalies that might predispose me to retinal complications or retinal issues. And I'll tell you, I put that DNA test in the mail over a month ago, probably a month and a half ago, and I still have not gotten the results. So I'm very interested. I'm checking every day to see if there's some kind of genetic, predisposition to this type of situation, because it's just so out of left field. Like, I'm otherwise totally healthy and really take care of myself. So, I'm always searching for an explanation. Why did this happen? And for the most part, up until this point, most of the doctors I've spoken to have said, we don't know why this stuff happens, when it happens in people's lives, or why some people, when they have PVD, get retinal detachments. We just don't know. It's just a numbers game. So it'll be interesting to see what the genetic results show, whether this is just a freak roll of the dice situation that happened to me, or if I have some kind of genetic predisposition to it. So that'll be interesting, and I'll update the channel with that once I get those results. But that's all I really have today. I just wanted to give an update. I didn't want there to just be one video and then people, I see on those other videos like, where are you now? What happened now? How are you? So I'm getting through this. This is only a few days after this surgery. You can tell it's very red and inflamed, as is, normal. So I want to try to keep these updates going all the way through this, and hopefully just continually good news from this point forward. Was going through a lot when this all started. I was in the process of selling a property. I'm in the process of buying something, and now I moved into this place, and I got married. My son is growing up. He's 9, and just a lot of life stuff happening, a lot of work stuff. I have a really hectic job. So this kind of stuff never really happens at a good time. I don't think there's ever a good time to have to go through this. But hang in there. It does get better, and you get through this stuff one step at a time. Don't look too far down the road the way I do. When I have one of these situations, I'm immediately calculating, okay, this is 1 month out of my life that I'm gonna have to dedicate to this, and I start forward looking too much instead of just focusing on rest, be comfortable, do what you can, and don't overdo it, because you really do need to recover from this type of surgery, and you got to give your body the time and the tools that it needs to get through this. And so I've learned to be a little more patient and a little more appreciative of my health throughout this. So there are positives that have come through this, but that's my update. Hope everybody is well, and hopefully your procedure will be a one and done. And if it isn't, you got to do what you got to do. As scary as it is, it's amazing what is possible now with modern medicine and surgery that just wasn't possible for even our parents. So, I have to constantly remind myself that it's, we have to be very, very grateful and feel very fortunate that this type of thing is fixable. So good luck with your procedure. I hope it goes well if you're having one, and I'll be back with an update soon. Thanks.